Hello, my happy Crumpin' Wargamers. Welcome back to Happy Crumpin' Wargaming. We have a treat for all of you today. So essentially what happened this past weekend is a bunch of our members in the member section of the Discord went to various GTs or team events, and we had a lot of wins and a lot of great stories. Well, we also had a few people who struggled, and they wrote up some really interesting tournament reviews, which is one of the things I ask all my coaching clients to do. We write up tournament reviews and we'll go through them, and so we can fix people's game for later. But one of the things that I did is I had identified the single biggest mistake that most people were making it in Warhammer 40k, and I thought this would be an excellent video because not only am I going to identify the mistake, I'm going to teach you how to fix it so that you don't even need to, ever make that mistake again, and you're just going to be happy here playing Warhammer. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's pop right into the biggest mistakes that happen in Warhammer. Number one mistake. This is going to be the incorrect intention, and this is a very, very important one that I see everyone doing all the time. They just do things during the game without considering why they're doing them. So for example, you go first, and then you just move up the table and you grab the objectives. Well, have you ever paused to ask yourself, why am I just moving up the board to take these objectives? Because if that doesn't actually further your ability to win the game, that doesn't really help you. So one of the things that I really want every single person to ask, and if you just ask yourselves these very simple questions while you're playing the game, you are not going to make you're going to reduce the amount of mistakes you make by an absolutely amazing amount. So here we go. The number one question that I want you to do whenever you do anything, whether it's pre-measuring, whether it's moving up to an objective, whether it's going to take a tempting target when you draw that card, whether it's do I use a stratagem? Here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? Then you need an answer for that question. Now the answer can be, I'm going to get on the objective so that next turn or in turn 2, what's going to happen is I will score those points for primary. But the beauty of asking yourself the question of why am I doing this, when you answer with that answer, hey, I'm going to do it so I can score primary, you're going to have to come up with, hey, does it actually do that? Because that's the second question. Number 2, will this have the effect I actually need it to have? So if by moving my units onto this objective, my goal is to score that as primary next turn, will moving my models onto that objective actually score primary? Well, not if you're playing against World Eaters or Orcs, where you know that they're just going to charge and take that objective from you. And you're also going to lose your unit in the process. So you're not going to hold that objective. So by moving yourselves onto the objective, are you actually going to hold it? No, because you're essentially just throwing away your models for no freaking reason. So the second question you always ask yourself is, will this have the effect I need it to have? And then the third question you need to ask yourself is, do I have a backup plan? And what is it? So I'm going to move my models onto this objective. Now, will that actually let me score the objective, or is it going to give my opponent a free charge? Let's say that it doesn't. So I'm pretty confident it will score. And then the third question I ask myself is, okay, what happens if I'm wrong? Do I have a backup plan of how I'm going to get primary or secondary or whatever? Ask yourself these questions whenever you play. It might take you a little bit longer to play in the beginning, but I play all my games like this, or at least I try to. I mean, everyone has a bad game every now and then, but I pretty much always play my games like this, and I don't make these mistakes. I just don't. And it's really, really exciting, and it really helps elevate your play to the next level. So this is the first mistake that I see people make. It is the incorrect intention when playing the game. So let's check out what the next mistake that people make is. Number 2 mistake, not prioritizing scoring. This is something that all of my fellow Orc lovers and all my World Eater lovers and all my Custodes lovers and basically everyone who plays aggressive lists like I play, we don't prioritize scoring. What happens is that we inevitably get struck by bloodlust and we just want to crump. And I understand because I love all that. But this game is won by scoring more victory points than the other person. Now, is it really fun to just run your models into each other and just have a blast? Of course it is. But it's also really fun to try to win. I actually never have fun in games when people aren't trying to win. Like I always have a blast playing my opponents who are trying to beat me, and we have a great time. It's good banter, we talk and everything. You can have a lot of fun while you're trying to beat each other. You just beat each other, but you're still playing the game together. So you still need to try to win. And the way we win is by scoring points. So how are you going to score points? Are you scoring points by taking fixed, or are you scoring points by taking secondaries or tactical secondaries? Once you identify that, I've actually got another video that breaks down the differences between fixed and secondaries. Maybe I'll blip it at the end, so I'll link to it so you guys could go check that out, whether or not you want to select fixed or secondary or a tactical. But you need to figure out how are you scoring. If your entire purpose of this game is to score deploy Talbot Hummers and let's say bring it down, well then you know that you need your models in the middle because you're going to be scoring deploy Talbot Hummers by being in the center of the battlefield. And if you have a deep striking unit, maybe you'll score it once or twice in your opponent's backfield. So you know where your models need to be. And that's going to influence literally every other decision that you're going to make throughout the game. It makes all of your decisions super, super easy. Do you need to go and hold the top objective if you're scoring all your points by holding the middle and being behind me lines? Well, then do you really need to hold that top objective? So this is the second biggest mistake I see people take. They don't prioritize scoring. So when you're playing the game, identify your path to victory and prioritize your scoring. What is the third big mistake I see people make? Not prioritizing, denying scoring. So this is a really, really big one. In a lot of the games that you're going to play, you're going to run into situations where our opponents just seem completely overwhelming. I know my opponents feel this way when I'm running my Orc Horde at them a lot of times. They're like, this is overwhelming. How do I handle all of this? Well, a lot of times the answer is you don't. Because if you try to handle all of it, you're going to run into issues. And that's kind of the point of the style list that I like to play a lot of times is, hey, here's too much for you to handle. Make bad decisions. I try to force myself to make bad decisions. Don't let yourself be the person who makes bad decisions. So one of these, when this happens and you feel slightly overwhelmed, what I want you to do is I just want you to get in a headspace and I want you to say, now is the time to deny scoring. Let's deny the scoring. This is a beautiful thing. So let's say I am running pre-nerf custodians and I'm holding all these objectives and you're totally screwed. Well, what happens when you get onto an objective and you dump a bunch of OC2 bodies that are super cheap and you just stop me from scoring primary? Well, crap. Am I going to lose because I can't ever score, even though I'm going to slaughter your entire army? This is a reality that happens, guys. So first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you're prioritizing scoring, but you also really need to prioritize denying your opponent scoring. If your opponent has taken deploy teleport homers, and you know that they're going to be trying to deep strike behind your enemy lines, and you know that they're going to try to be in the middle, well, one of the things that you can do is you can just screen your entire backfield. Even if you want to use one of your units to go up to the midfield, why don't you just screen your entire backfield? Make sure that he can never deep strike back there, or teleport back there, or whatever. And then why don't you have a huge presence in the center of the board to stop him from being able to score in the center? What you do at that point in time, you put him on a 0 for that secondary. So generally speaking, a lot of times when your opponent takes fixed, that is the time to really think about, okay, how do I deny these secondaries? I talk about this a lot with my orc list where I use bring it down as a trap because I have a bunch of trucks and sometimes I'll bring def copters. I put a lot of points. I always offer a maximum secondaries for bring it down. Well, the second my opponent declares that they're taking bring it down as a secondary, one of the things I do is I disembark all of my units from the trucks turn 1, and then I just drive my trucks backwards. And now my opponent is like really pissed off because they're going to score 0 or maybe like just 3 points and bring it down. So you can really focus on denying your opponent's secondaries. So, Grots and Gets. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to figure it out. What is the biggest mistake that players make in the game of Warhammer 40k? The orc is questioning it. You're questioning it. Everyone's questioning it. What is it? Drum roll. It's incorrect intention. Listen, it's the first one that we talked about today. And I'm going to teach you how to fix this right now. First off, you got, like we went ahead and said, there's questions you need to ask. Always ask yourself before you take an action, why am I doing this? Number 2 is, will this have the effect I need it to? Number 3 is, do I have a backup plan and what is it? Really, a great example of this is when your opponents are moving and you're like, oh, Overwatch, I'm going to Overwatch. Well, ask yourself real quick, okay, if I Overwatch, will I kill this unit? Oh, no. At best, I'm going to cause 1 wound to the unit. Then why would I Overwatch? Yeah, you don't waste your CP, right? So this incorrect intention thing applies to absolutely everything in the game. But what are we going to do to actually just be way better at the game? What I want you to do is I want you to start prioritizing your turn. This is a free piece of information I have for all of you that I basically go over in depth with all of my coaching clients. So just take this to the bank, okay? Also, still put coaching calls. But this is one of the big things I really have to hammer into all of my coaching clients. You need to prioritize your turn. After we have decided the first 3 questions of like playing intentionally, you got to ask yourself every single turn, how do I score this turn? How do I deny my opponent's scoring for next turn? And then how do I set myself up to score next turn? If your actions are not following these 3 options, you're probably setting yourself up for failure, or you're going to be preying on good dice. And we at Happy Equipping Wargaming hate relying on dice. We want ourselves to win even if we have crappy dice. So we always try to make sure that we're in position to score regardless of what the dice say. So first off, how do I score this turn? If I draw a tempting target, I have to score a tempting target. Everything else around my game plan, and that's assuming, by the way, that you can score a tempting target, because sometimes it's just impossible. But if I score a tempting target and I think I'm going for it, I have to make sure that I score a tempting target. how do I deny my opponent scoring next turn? So is there a way that I can get enough bodies onto these objectives to make it so my opponent doesn't score his primaries? Or is there a way that I can move block in such a way that means that they're not scoring secondaries? Interesting. And then the third question you have to try to prioritize every single turn is, how do you set yourself up for next turn? If you watch the most recent stream I did where I was playing my World Eaters into one of the Discord members' Tau list, one of the things I did with my World Eaters is I charged nothing turn 1, even though I had advance and charge and +2 movement. What I did is I just positioned myself to be in such a way that he could not shoot me in his turn 1, and then I was going to be able to charge the entire board in turn 2. So you need to set yourself up to score next turn. Sometimes it's okay to forego scoring in this turn to set yourself up for next turn. So, Grots and Gits, this is it. This is the biggest mistake that I see people make in Warhammer 40,000. It is having the incorrect intention. It's just doing things without thinking about why they're doing them. Ask yourself the questions: why am I doing this? Will this have the effect I need it to have? And do I have a backup plan? And what is that backup plan? Ask yourself those questions. I promise you're going to have a lot more success in Warhammer 40,000, and you're going to have a lot more fun because you're not going to start losing because you're doing stupid things. The only time you lose now is when your opponent just beats you, and it's okay for your opponent to beat you. It's not okay to lose because you just do a stupid thing, and it's okay to get beat. It's not great to lose, if that makes sense, right? And take the way that I'm saying it, maybe not the way it sounds. You never want to beat yourself. You want your opponent to be able to beat you. That's okay, but you don't want to beat yourself. You want to set yourself up for success. And that's what Happy Corrupting Wargaming is all about. If you like all of this content, guys, I talk about this all the time in the members-only section of the Discord. Please join the members-only Discord. That is basically how I'm making all this content and just pushing out for you. I do all this free stuff for you guys, and I really appreciate all your support. You guys freaking rock. Until next time, I'm out. Enjoy a very, very happy life of crumping. Bye-bye.